Podcast, episode 53. 53. It's actually week 52, but show 53.
Right.
For those paying attention.
Which is, important.
It's, well, to somebody. It's important to us to figure out what in the hell is actually happening.
Yeah.
Because we were a little bit...
Miffled.
Yeah, like, what is going on with this? Did we miss a number?
Conflictinated.
Did we not know how to count from 1 to 52 without screwing up? And it turns out, in fact, yes, we can.
Yeah, entirely possible.
We passed second grade math.
Barely.
And we can count to 52 / now 53.
Right.
And so that's what's happening. I'm Jim.
I'm the Foo.
And we have a banger of a show, I think.
Sure. We're going to talk about nose hairs.
That's the only thing on the docket tonight. So, not necessarily mucus that's entrenched in there, but just the hairs themselves.
Yes.
And, it's really frustrating because, I'm starting to get old.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing, as I get older, more and more nasal hair.
It's one of those weird things,
Yeah.
Like the progression of getting grays doesn't seem to be linear. Like 2 years back, it was like 1 or 2 in my mustache.
Yeah.
I think that's where it started. And in the house, we used to describe those as the evil hairs. That was where I would contain and dispatch with all of the evil that I had acquired
is to those hairs.
Into the gray hairs.
So are you trying to say now that you have way more evil?
Yes. Now,
all right.
But yes, I'm dispatching with them.
All
but
right.
Now that there's so much that it's proliferating.
Well, I have this thing where it's like it's like shark's teeth in my nose hairs. Like sharks have a row of teeth, or a tooth breaks off and there's one right behind it. I have this nose hair thing where it's like I pull one or whatever, and there's another one right behind it.
Yes.
And it's like, and it's crazy because they're no longer brown. They're white now. They're starting to turn gray. And that's the main area of my dome where the hairs are white or gray, is in my nostril.
It's bonkers, too, at the rate in which they grow. Because being running and whatnot, it's like, a sweat, and I'll start rubbing my nose, and then one gets like a stray. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
You sneeze, and then it starts tickling. You try and get in there with the scissors or whatnot and clip them, but then it gets, not only is like they grow so fast, but then they get to like that certain length where they start tickling the inside.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, this is way too fucking much for me.
Well, what I don't get is I can check myself in the mirror, I can clean them out or whatever.
Yeah.
And then be okay for a couple days, and then next thing you know, I check myself in the mirror, and there is like one sticking out. And it's where did it
come from?
Where did that come from, man?
It's like, what the fucking...
It's so
Vitamix, not Vitamix. Miracle Grow.
Oh,
it's like
that must be what it is.
Super fast. I'm like, what?
My green thumb is working on my nostril hairs.
Nose hairs. It's absolutely bonkers.
It's weird.
And then and then it's like I feel like I'm always touching my nose because it just starts to tickle, and it's almost like yawning. Like I'll see someone like itch their nose, and then it's like, so I've got one too.
I'm gonna start doing this.
Yeah, and then
Now I'll tell you what does work though. If you are driving in a car and you are in traffic, just yawn and kind of look over at the car next to you. Chances are good you're going to make them yawn. You're going to
get them to go.
Oh, absolutely. I used to commute with this girl named April, and we would do that all the time.
Get another car to yawn.
Yeah, so if you were in the passenger seat and you just like pull up next to somebody and at a light, give it a good yawn, and you get them to yawn.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
That's totally funny.
Yeah.
Like the trucker horn?
Yeah.
Except yawning.
Totally involuntary. They don't even know it hit them. It's like you're all, and they're like, oh, here it comes, yeah. You know what I mean?
Good Lord. How crazy.
It's so funny.
Are you really yawning or just like pantomiming it?
No, I don't think I was. No, it wasn't a real yawn. It was just
so you're just like,
just act like you're tired and then check them out, and they're like, oh, there they go. They're yawning.
You my bitch.
That's right. I don't even know you, and I made you do that. Yeah, that cracks me up.
Just triggered something. Okay, my bitch.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Did you see the Kevin Hart wrecking his custom Barracuda thing?
No.
Okay. So he
wrecked his car?
Yes. So he had one of those. We may have touched on it when we way back.
Kevin Hart?
Yeah, we did the car lists. One of the shops that does like rebuilt customs, Speedcore.
Okay.
He commissioned them to make him a 1970 Barracuda.
Okay.
Supercharged, brand new Hemi.
That's a nice looking rig too. Shit.
Yeah. They finished it, and he went up PCH, I believe. Tossed his buddy the keys, and so it has a backseat delete. So it's an all custom, resto mod kind of thing.
Yeah.
Backseat delete. So they had a female with them, who was apparently squatting in a non-back seat.
So no seatbelt.
No seatbelt for her, to my knowledge. His buddy is driving. He is in the passenger seat, and something happens, and they end up over the rails on PCH or wherever it was they were driving, and they roll the car, and essentially it's a loss.
They were in Calabasas.
There you go. Car's toast. And I just saw
it's wrecked.
Yeah, that they were suing or they were having to lawyer up because they may get sued because the car had none of the safety amenities of a modern car.
Yeah.
And so there was this big uproar about how insurance companies may start requiring these custom cars or refurbished
that are resto modded
older cars. If you're going to bring something up with modernized internals, that you will then have to be putting mandatory seat belts or harnesses, a roll cage, airbags.
Wasn't 1970 like? I would imagine that seatbelts were required by then.
It might have been
not wearing them in the 70s, but because we were standing on the humps as a kid, right?
Yeah,
in the back seat. But having seatbelts, I would imagine in this, at least at 70, that would have been
probably. I mean, the
federally
72
mandated.
Has lap belts.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 3-point harnesses were not a thing up until
the
late 70s.
So then you get
80s.
into the if you're a frame off restoration where you're the 80+% of your entire chassis is custom sheet metal work.
Yeah.
Do you have to put safety equipment in it?
Yeah.
I don't know. And apparently he didn't have enough. I thought he had a roll cage, and I want to say he did. But I don't know if they were wearing all the stuff. And I'm just like, wow, how insane is that? So you're going to start seeing some of these custom shops.
I'm looking at the wreck pictures of it right now.
Yeah.
Does not look like it has a roll cage because the roof is fucking gone.
That's a shame. See, to me, as a driving enthusiast, if I was going to have something of that size with modern, it had a blown...
Oh yeah, that thing's
blown
a monster.
Hemi in there.
Yeah, it's a monster.
Like, why would you not? I would give me a roll cage, please. There's no way this thing is not going to be more than I can handle. Just give me the bare minimum, and that would be a roll cage, I would think.
Well, I'm thinking, if you're going to resto mod a car, you should also resto mod. The crash pictures are insane, but you should also go with like modern safety equipment too, 3-point seating, or at least harness seat belts on the seats.
Like yeah. I imagine and I'll be honest, the amount of cars resto mod 60s and 70s era cars and hot rods, rat rods and whatnot that I've seen them redo. Those are nice looking seats, though. Well, yeah, there's no roll cage there.
No, not at all.
Although they may have cut it because they had to cut the top of the car off to get everybody out.
I don't see where there's a roll cage
You
in
don't
this
see?
thing.
Oh.
No.
I don't see anyone doing anything about airbags.
No, not retro.
Yeah. That thing probably hauled so much ass.
You know what's nuts is if you look at custom, if you look at any kind of custom steering wheels.
Yeah.
All modern cars have airbags in the steering wheel, at least.
Right.
If you're looking to customize the steering wheel, none of those custom wheels that you can buy aftermarket
have
airbag stuff in them. None of them. They're just metal and wood and whatever other material they're making them out of.
Yeah.
So you could be literally customizing a new car with
right. That's what I'm wondering where the standards are as far as like some of these.
That's nuts, man.
Super custom.
Yeah.
I mean, you could build like a trike, right? I mean, some of these things, the requirements of safety are probably like, well, as long as if it's soup to nuts and you're building and registering your own car, not from a large manufacturer, there's little to anything,
right,
that hits the check boxes as far as what you have to have.
Well, I mean, you're buying a 1970 car and then putting all this monster equipment in it, and those things are not built for today's modern engines, right?
Right.
Modern engines and suspension and all that kind of stuff. So, you're probably pushing the limits of safety from a standpoint of the fact that you're asking this old thing to do stuff that modern cars are built for.
Right, yeah.
I mean, if you're putting a modern engine and supercharger in that thing, that car wasn't meant for that.
Well, a lot of those it's stripped down to the frame, and now they've got like coilovers and sway bars. I mean,
full resto mods are very sought after kind of a thing because they have a modern feel and drive, but they're in the old body.
Yeah.
Right.
Like this, it's really probably something of that caliber made by that company. It's more looks like the era, but very little is probably carried over outside body lines.
Yeah.
The amount of sheet metal work in some of those is probably, far and away beyond what the actual chassis had.
Well, here it says the big issue, we're told the company that customized the car could be looking at a lawsuit. The argument goes like this. The company is the expert, and if Kevin wanted a custom job without safety harnesses, the company should have refused the job because it wasn't safe, especially with a powerful 720 horsepower motor. See what I mean?
Yeah.
We contacted 10 custom car companies around the country and asked if Kevin's crash had opened their eyes and changed their minds about customizing classic cars without installing safety harnesses. 8 out of the 10 said they would if that's what the customer wanted, and only 2 said they would not.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, you know what you're getting when you buy one of these cars.
Oh, yeah. You are not going in there.
And honestly, you're asking them to make the car for you.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and I'm sure that's probably why the 8 of 10 are like,
if the customer wanted it,
yeah. Because, well, I'd be more than happy to engineer this thing with dash airbags and side curtain airbags.
I mean, the roof was completely gone. Right?
I'll be honest. It's not. I can't stand that wheel stance.
You don't like that?
I do not like 20 dubs stuffed underneath wheel arches. I can't stand it.
Really?
No, it's not my.
I think it just is a very aggressive stance.
I don't mind the back. The back seemed to be okay because I think that's intended.
I think they got wides in the back and more narrows up front because the rears are deeps and the fronts are not.
I like
It's almost like a funny car stance, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
you got the big
like
wheels in
too
the back.
much for me.
I do like that actually.
I like a little bit more classic.
I don't know. I mean,
Not
I
bicycle
like both.
tire, but
No.
when you're that big, I would rather see more meat on the tire because I just think that that's a little bit closer to the
original.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal, though. You put that big of an engine in that car, and then you're going to put the 1970 style tires on it that are the same. I mean, those are sloppy as shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're big, fat, sidewall fucking tires.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get the performance out of those old style tires and wheels than you are with a bigger,
I think there's
bigger wheel
you don't
with a low
have
pro
to go
tire.
to 20s.
No, absolutely
But
not.
you could probably get 18s with a decent amount of meat on your tire.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Dude, I need at least more meat on my tire.
I've heard her say that.
Yeah.
She just pops her head out the door right over there.
Yeah, it's in the Deadpool
And
mask.
she just goes like this.
Bell.
More meat.
I need more meat.
Uh-huh. And then
God damn it, Foo.
And then she's gone.
And then she disappears. Sure you don't want the jelly beans?
No, that's scary. And I mean, it's really up to the whoever buys it. I mean, you're buying a car that doesn't have those greatest seatbelts in the first place.
Right.
I mean, shit, you want to put a 720 horsepower engine there and not change any of the safety shit? That's on you, man. You have they built it to your spec.
And that's the thing. It's like at that tier of that kind of customization and request from a buyer. It's like
Well, most of those people they don't want to spend the money on that stuff. They want all the performance shit.
I just think, it gets hard to tell when your dick measuring stops and where your enthusiasm for the culture ends. It's like, as someone that really enjoys the culture and the drive, I would be like, I don't need it to be blown. I don't need 700. Tell you what, you could blow a
like who really does?
It's like, well, if I'm gonna go dragging, then I'd be
you're,
like,
you're building a car for that, I think.
Right, but like to be a cruising thing that obviously went sideways, it would be like, give me the latest Hemi.
Well, here's the other part of this too, right? Even like the Dodge Vipers up to a certain point didn't have any electronic minders in them, right?
Right.
So a Viper, for instance, was one of the scariest cars you could ever drive and buy up until a certain point when they started actually adding in electronic minders and launch control and traction control and all these other things. I mean, and that wasn't that far along. I mean, or that long ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you're taking an old 70 car and putting this giant ass motor where no manufacturer now would ever put that big ass motor in one of these cars without any of those electronic minders now.
Correct.
Everybody's going to do it.
Right.
Because why? Nobody can
does
drive
it
that shit
raw.
without wrecking that stuff.
Right. And you get what you get.
And then you go like, oh, there's a guy who just bought us his Huracan and ran it into a fucking tree because guess why? He came out of the parking lot and stepped on it and lost control and wrecked it right out of the lot.
Right. And so
that happens all the time.
I think that like lends the difference between someone that goes to one of these car shops and's like, what do you want, sir?
Right.
And he's like, I want a fucking Cuda and I want a Hemi. Would you like it blown? Fuck yeah, I want it blown. Yeah. Like the difference between that and like, I would love to have an option for a daily driver with power that I can control, but doesn't feel underpowered.
Yeah.
But I could take to a track day and have fun with it.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of difference between someone that's got like fucking Oprah rich money to go spend on a car.
Right.
And like, yeah, I'm just checking all the boxes for horsepower and torque. And completely ignorant of like, well, what would happen if I put that amount of power on?
Obviously, he wasn't going to take that thing to the fucking track. It didn't have 5-point harnesses.
Right.
It didn't have any safety shit in it whatsoever. Right. So, I mean, you have this giant-ass motor for what purpose? just because it's a badass thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
check out my...
Yeah, and how did that work for you?
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of silly. I mean, I
wrecked it.
I get the badass car, and I really thought his car was nice looking.
Yeah.
I get all that. I love that stuff. I enjoy watching shows where they rebuild these things and make these things what they are. But damn it, if you don't have respect for it, you're going to lose it and wreck it.
Right.
And if you don't think about any kind of safety whatsoever, then you just get what you get.
Right. Yeah.
It is what it is.
I didn't get the details on what his back injury was, but...
Some kind of lower back injury.
Like maybe a disc or something. I don't know
Maybe it makes him shorter.
Yeah, and he probably made it out because he's such a fit guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, him being well into fitness.
Yeah, he's definitely there.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating to see.
Well, when you see someone spend that, I mean, I don't know how much money he spent, but obviously he spent a good chunk of change having that car built. For someone like us, that's desirable, right?
Yeah.
And then just wreck it, whatever. I mean,
to be like, go on, take it out, Datas. Go let me know what you think on Auburn Folsom. And then he fucking gets to the top
God.
Like, are you safe? Yeah. Oh, there goes $250,000.
Yeah. And the thing of it is, even with that car,
you fuck me.
you're probably never going to get out of it what he put into it as far as money. You know what I mean? Because it was a resto mod. I mean, some of those are very well sought. Now, I watch a lot of Mecum auto auctions.
Yeah.
But most of those cars, people put way more money into them than they ever get, like, at auction.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, I mean, a Barracuda, though, 70 Barracuda, maybe. Those are pretty rare.
Well, and it depends, too. I mean, some of these guys will do, like, the making of in hindsight. You know, if it had a significant amount of body work done, I mean...
Oh, I'm sure it did.
It's a...
Well, that had to be, tubbed and everything.
Yeah, its value as a... like an auction thing is probably less because it's,
been modded.
It's been modded.
Yeah. There was, speaking of Mecum, they had I don't remember what year it was, but it was the Cobra that everybody wants. Yeah. Right. So they had an original Cobra that was the 420 version. Yeah. And the thing was, it had less, somewhere around 10,000 miles. Even had the original tires still on it. Wow. $2.6 million.
Not shocked.
Someone bought that car for.
Not shocked.
Can you believe that crap?
There was a ways back. This goes back years and years, and it's like a running thing with my dad and my uncle, where because they have like a kit car.
Oh yeah, there's the AMC Cobra.
Yeah, where you get a number of donor parts. Or even the kit. I think the kit itself, they'll sell you like a rolling chassis.
I think it's like a fiberglass body, though.
Yeah, like 30,000, and it comes with like a crate motor, and and you add on your trims as whatnot as you go up. I'm like, that'd be fun. I would love to do that.
They just have a nice look to them, right?
Yeah, we're talking about like the blue with the white stripes, the bulbous ass with like the chrome single. Yep. Oh yeah. I would do one of those on a
2.6 mil. Yeah. If you got 2.6 bill, it's no problem.
Or I can spend $50,000 and buy the kit car and be like...
Kevin Hart could probably buy one.
He probably could.
He might have to
buy a whole fleet of them, sell them to the Amazon guys.
He'd probably wreck that shit too, though.
Yeah. You want to take this out for a ride, Bob?
That's crazy.
Wrecked.
Let's see if I can find it.
The kit car?
No, the Cobra...
Mecum
427. I think this was basically the 67 Shelby Cobra Roadster. Yeah. This is it.
Oh yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take that in a heart. That would just be a fun car to drive.
That's like
but no minders.
Oh yeah.
You're getting a lot of horsepower and no minders.
Well, and that too. I mean, that's not going to
that's the way the car came.
Right.
It wasn't resto modded with no safety.
The real world numbers to the back wheels on it, because what did I just look up? I mean, they're not that impressive.
Yeah.
Compared to the 2 liters that we've got in the Cadillac and the right, pound for pound.
Yeah.
That 427 is not as impressive as far as what it can generate as the
nowadays
4-bangers with the turbo.
True.
So
what you're getting is all the noise and the bang and the experience and all that shit is built into that car.
Now, that's not to say that if you put your foot to the floor, that thing's not going to get out from underneath you.
Oh, yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as putting a blown Hemi in there and then the train wreck that's about to happen. I mean, it would, but
yeah, right.
But that, it's a little different. It's a little different.
Yeah. Here's something interesting. So had my car in the shop over the last couple of days. So I had a loaner car from the dealer.
Yeah.
And they loaned me what is the model? I don't know. It's a Cadillac SUV thing.
Okay. XTS. BTS. Is it a prison?
Is it XT? I think it was the XT5. I think it is a prison. I think it's called the XT5.
Okay.
Nice SUV.
Okay.
Has a V6 in it. 310 horsepower.
Wow.
Pretty impressive.
Okay.
But what I noticed about it is, compared to my car, which is a 2-liter inline-4 turbo, the turbo just adds the put yourself in the seat stuff compared to the V6 with more horsepower and torque than the turbo.
Yeah.
The turbo just puts you back in the seat, where the Cadillac with the just naturally aspirated V6 with more horsepower doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Really interesting
it's just
stuff.
Kind of like
it has the power and it does have get up and go.
Right.
For sure. It just doesn't have the I'm going. Here we go.
Right, right. Well, and that's like the Explorer. It's a turbo 6 too, but it does not do.
Well, no. I mean, this car wasn't even turboed.
Right. Well, I'm saying that. I mean, comparison.
Yeah.
It's a V6,
but she has a turbo in it.
But
right?
she has a turbo. It's still an EcoBoost.
Yeah.
And it's still geared and transmissioned in a way that does not do
that kickback,
the lurch. Now, if you step on it, you're gonna know. You'll still feel turbo lag. You'll still feel.
Here we go. Yeah.
But it's much more training wheeled than the Focus.
It's all about tuning.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's meant to be
so
a grocery getter and not a sports car necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and that's like the 427 too. It's like the same way. If you took out of that Cobra, you put a turboed one of these, it would probably break loose at just the same equivalent because the power to weight ratio.
Oh yeah.
But as well as the turbo would,
you're saving weight,
right? Yeah. Would do different shit. And
that would be an interesting. I wonder if anyone's done that.
Probably not to an original.
No, I mean you could do it with a kit car.
Oh, a kit car.
Yeah, that'd be. I want to see if I want to look that up
with a fiberglass body. I'm sure that's probably light as hell.
Yeah, with just a turbo motor. I mean, because the other thing that I noticed, man, that Cadillac SUV just sucks the gas up. I used in the 3 days I drove it.
Yeah,
I used 15 gallons of gas. 15 gallons of gas, because when I filled it up on the way back, I put 15 gallons of gas in there. Whereas in the ATS with an inline-4 turbo, that would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 gallons or maybe 11.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Yeah. That's the other thing I noticed. I don't know if I talked about this or not. We drove the ATS to Los Angeles and back. The central point from the Sacramento area for us is Kettleman City. We always stop there. Yeah. Every car I've ever driven to L.A., we stop at Kettleman City, has about a quarter tank of gas. Every car. Civic, Honda Odyssey, CRV, I don't know, whatever other cars that we always seem to be around a quarter tank. The Cadillac had over half a tank of gas left. That was amazing to me.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. And it did it both ways. So between like Santa Ana and coming back, we stopped at Kettleman City, over half a tank of gas. And that's going up over the Grapevine.
Right.
You know, just blew me away. Totally surprised me. Because, you don't know. You buy a car.
Yeah.
What is this going to do on gas?
Yeah, the long haul type of shit.
Yeah, I have no idea. And then I was just very pleasantly surprised.
I just saw a car review. Rob Dahm.
Nice.
SoCal. He's building a RX-7, like a rotary thing.
Okay.
And he's got a CTS-V.
Okay. Those are pigs, though.
Yes. Right. We'll get there.
Because they're V8s.
So he's like, if you're not on the sauce, the supercharger will get you decent gas mileage. Mm-hmm. He's like,
because it's working for you.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, and I know, I know that if I drive conservatively, I'll get decent gas mileage.
Right.
He's like, I know if I'm on the sauce, if I'm spirited, I'm hurting myself as far as gas money and the wallet.
Right.
He's like,
but it's so fun to do.
It is so fun. He's like, I can drive any car within its bounds and have a good time. He's like, this car,
it begs you.
Right.
Yes.
He's like,
Please punch the gas pedal.
I know it's here. He's like, I'm not a stoplight guy. He's like, but in this car, I want to be a stoplight guy because it is so fun. He's like, so the gas fucking absolutely wrecks me.
Right.
He's like, because it's fun. You want to feel the experience.
Pull,
yeah, you want to feel and see what it does.
Yeah.
He's like, so I can't drive it as much as I want because it absolutely just gores my wallet.
Yep.
When,
Yeah, when I filled that thing up today, I was like, "Ooh, that was."
But he's like, I have no regrets. He's like, no regrets. But it's terrible.
There's a show on MSNBC during the day. They do a lot of car stuff. I want to say it's MSNBC. No, NBC Sports Network.
Okay.
And they do a lot of car, like a lot of weird racing series that you've never heard of that are like running down at Sonoma and
okay.
Stuff you've never heard of, like, oh, that's cool. I want to watch that,
Mm-hmm.
But they also have other shows that they play intermittently throughout the week, because I know this because we have a feed at work that has this on it all the time. And one of them's a car show, and this kind of older gentleman with this like handlebar mustache and this goofy hat, he goes to these car shows and just talks to people about their cars. It's really interesting. Mm-hmm. And he finds really interesting cars to talk about. But in one of those cases, he came upon, there were two CTS-V wagons parked right next to each other.
Okay. And
one of them was the first year of the CTS-V wagon.
Okay.
And one was the last year they made the CTS-V wagon. And I forget what the first year, maybe 04, and the last one was 14.
Okay.
And so they were looking it over, and they were talking about it, and it was... because I love that car. I love the CTS-V wagon. If I could buy one of those, I would. Mm-hmm. But they were sitting in it, and he's like, "Oh, start it up and give it some gas." So he gets in it and goes, "Yeah, gives it. It sounds awesome." And he goes, "Oh, I just saw your gas gauge go down by about a quarter."
Yeah,
and they were chuckling because that's pretty much what it does.
I would, believe it.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think if you're buying that car, you're probably not too worried about that.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, it is what it is.
The experience is what you're purchasing the car for, because you know exactly what's going to happen. That's one of those cars I think you don't go to like a GM dealer and you're like, I'm looking for something sporty and I could land on a this or a this. You know
what you want when you get there.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're like, should I be concerned about gas? Well, what does this one do? No, that's not.
You're there because you want that fucker.
Right.
Absolutely.
You have hit the midlife.
There is a black one at Reliable.
Yeah.
That's on the lot right now, and I think I sent pictures to you.
Yes.
And it was a 16, and I didn't see how many miles were on. I didn't open it up. I was just looking at the outside.
Yeah.
And it was still $70,000. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
$70,000 for a 16 CTS-V. But it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
We made the Granite Bay joke. Like, that's Granite Bay money.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I live out in Roseville. There's no way. But it's a pretty car. I love that. I think I love the edgy lines. I love the sharp lines. I'm not on all cars. I don't necessarily. I mean, obviously the Focus is pretty round all over the place.
Yeah.
My first Eclipse was, round all over the.
So you had a later model Eclipse.
I had
with the rounder rear end and stuff.
Well, it depends on what is late, early. I had the very bulbous one before they went to like the one that had like bear claw scratches down the side.
Was that like what year was it? 94 or something?
98.
98?
97, 98.
All right, I have to look this up. I have to look it up. 98 Eclipse?
Yeah. Maybe. No.
Was it a GSX or just
GST?
GST.
They didn't have any GSXs on the lot. That's what I wanted.
Okay, this is what I was picturing in my mind. Was this particular model. Okay.
With the big hula hoop.
Did you have the hump in the hood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that fitting? The air intake?
The cam. Or not the cam, the timing.
Oh, really?
Was like on the left-hand side.
And it stuck up enough they had to put a hump in them?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I always liked those. And I even remember back in the day the Plymouth Lasers. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Those were cool.
Because I wanted an Eagle Talon.
Oh, those were cool too. Because they were all-wheel drive.
Right. Because they were the same thing.
Yeah.
The Talon TSX or whatever it was and the GSX were the same.
Uh-huh.
I liked the front fascia with the little teeth on the talons. But I think they were stopping making those, and so at that point I realized, well, if I want, Eagle was going the way of the Dodo.
Eagle was going away.
Okay. So I went, well, it's the same car as long as I'm okay. So I went to the Mitsubishi dealer and I went, I would like a GSX, and they went, we don't have any, and we're not expecting any more this model year. And I went, I'll take a GST then. And it was like literally that.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, well, I came in here to get a car.
So you're telling me I can't get what I want.
Right.
But I'm going to get something.
Yeah.
That's
so
disappointing.
I got the front wheel drive one.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, those were cool cars. I always liked them.
Which is funny too, because the second car that I had, the Fiero, Venus was out and about doing something, and she came. It was like, or Wednesday, probably Monday or it might have been yesterday. She was showing me some pictures on her phone, and she showed me she was at a light or something, and she saw a picture of a Fiero, but it was the one that was really close to the MR2. It had really long. It looked much more sporty than the one that I had.
What was your year?
You don't remember? I don't know.
Because Shan's mom had a Fiero.
Yes. There was a model that had like the really cool back tail light.
Uh-huh.
And it had much more sweeping like angles on the C-pillar. And like a really rounded front end nostril thing, but I had like the plebeian.
This is the one, but they had it in white.
I had that style.
Okay.
I don't know which one.
That's an 84.
That sounds about right.
Oh, okay, so it was an older one.
Yeah. Maybe an 88. Look for like 4 years later, and they started getting much more closer to like an MR2 in looks. And it was the same underpinnings. So the amount of times I went to Pick and Pull looking for the newer model stuff to try and pull off to put on my car, I made many trips to Pick and Pull.
Here's a Fiero GT. I don't know if this is
I think that's it. Sounds it. Here we go.
One?
Yes.
That's
I love.
That's what you had?
No.
Oh, that's what you were trying to get to.
Those are the parts I was trying to pull off. I ended up with the back valence, the back bumper.
Okay.
And that was it. And I never ended up putting it on my car because by the time I had all the parts that I could find, I was then moving from Chico or something back down to Auburn, and I didn't have it. I wasn't going to Pick and Pull anymore. I was a boyfriend and had other
priorities.
Yes,
those were not easy cars to work on, considering where the motor was in the back.
No.
Yeah.
And they mine had plenty of problems, but I'd always wanted to take that model. I love that car. I love the looks of that one. And they make tons of kits for that too. Like you could take someone had like a Ferrari body kit that you could make it. I mean, it obviously wasn't even close, but they were pretty handy for applying body kits to, because it was mid-engine, so you could put all kinds of goofball shit on the nose and whatnot.
Yeah, I think the aftermarket people kind of went nuts on that car.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not finding for the ATS. There's a couple things I've been looking for, but not a lot of stuff. One of the things I wanted was like mud guard kind of thing for the rear.
Yeah.
And the front.
Yeah.
Nobody has.
Really?
Yeah. You can get a universal kit, I guess, but I wanted something that kind of fit the body and looked right. Nobody has them.
I'll be damned.
WeatherTech, none of those guys have any. And
so you don't get any wheel spray or have any need for protection?
Well, I haven't had any so far, but it's not for lack of looking for something that would do that.
Right.
There's just nobody makes it.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of aftermarket stuff. Sometimes you can find like headlights and stuff on like Amazon.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I mean, there's not a ton of stuff. Even like the sunroof, right, is the thing that pops up that blocks the wind.
Yeah, like the diffuser.
Yeah, it's fabric.
Oh.
It's weird. So it's like this wheat woven fabric, and when you drive, it makes this like kind of almost a whistling sound, almost. And it's kind of irritating because it's not like all the other cars that I've ever had that have a sunroof have a metal guy that pops up.
Yes.
Right?
Subaru,
but this thing pops up like this far, and it's like this fabric thing that goes all the way across that has like holes in it. So it's like, and it makes...
Oh, the Explorer might have something like that.
Okay. And it's irritating.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll get one of those like little things that go over the front of the sunroof.
Yeah. Okay.
The only people that make anything for that car is WeatherTech. It's like, okay, I guess.
Is it a universal or specific for the model?
Well, I don't know. I think it's it's hard to tell.
Oh.
I mean, if you look up that car on their website, they have
also if it's Toyota Corolla.
Yeah,
you're
maybe.
like, that's not the one I don't want something that's like janky.
Yeah.
Sure.
I go to Honda. It's like, Honda makes one for the fucking CRV and the, Cadillac's like, I don't know, figure it out.
I'm sorry, sir. You don't need to put any of these amenities on your car.
What are you talking about?
Once you've purchased the car, it's all done.
It's finished,
sir.
I was like, is there a kit where I can just add 2 more cylinders? They're like,
sir, perhaps we could walk you in the back and flog you with your monocle.
Do you realize what you've asked?
Yeah. This is the model you have purchased.
No, I mean, there's just, and the worst, oh my gosh, the worst is trying to figure out how to upgrade the Bose audio system to something better.
Yeah.
Because it's not terrible, but it's not great. I'm used to having cars with bumping systems in them.
Yeah.
Like my Civic kicked ass in the stereo department.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounded really good. And I get in my Cadillac that's got a 10-speaker Bose system, and it's like, I guess it's working.
Yeah.
But then if I want to upgrade it, it's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
But the options are there. You
Sorta,
could.
Yeah, you can. It's
or
just
is it still...
No, it's there. It's just, it's an expensive endeavor.
Yeah.
Really. So it's like, well, not only do you have to buy this wiring harness from this guy, but you also have to make sure that when they build it for you, they add the microphone cutoff, because the Bose system has 3 mics inside the car. And if you don't cut those off and you start adding other sound, then the microphones pick up sound from, say, a subwoofer that you might add,
right,
and then tries to cancel that sound out from as if it was noise because it's not coming from the system.
Right.
So it goes, oh, there's all this extra low-end noise, and then it tries to add that back into the system as noise canceling, and then fucks everything up. So you have to cancel out the mics, and you got to buy processor,
right, a DSP,
DSP,
yeah,
and that handles at least 8 channels because 10 speakers,
right,
and then because the front 2 speakers, from what I could tell, are wired together from the doors to the pillars.
Okay,
so you only need 8 channels, but then you have to have 8 channels worth of amps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you got to replace all the speakers.
I think of it. Yeah,
see what I mean?
Yeah, and that it's not affordable to me. I think it's trying to. That's the difference between probably the Cadillac as a brand.
Yeah,
is not probably like a tuner. It's,
no,
right.
That's
as
the
opposed to the Civic, right?
Yes.
It's not intended like the. How many times have we kind of gone through this? Like the bulk demographic.
Yeah.
For their marketing strategy is like, they're going to buy this car and audio and aftermarket parts and whatnot is not a concern. You've got your retirees and your midlife crisis guys are like, I just want to get in and drive.
Well,
I'm not a tuner.
To
anymore.
that end, however, if you look at the current Cadillac lineup of vehicles, they are very much in line with like BMW and like those kind of cars where they do a lot of tuning on this stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't know if maybe they just don't care like who their end up demographic is. They just, we put together, Bose likes to say they make more audio from what they have than like putting good shit in there. And I mean, whatever, it does its job, but it's not.
It's not what you're used to.
No, it's totally not what I'm used to. And then the fact that they use 2-ohm speakers everywhere, it's like, come on, man. You can't even find 2-ohm speakers to replace them. And then the problem, if you do with that, is that the way that the Bose amp is all set up, they're compensating for this audio sound of the shittier speakers. So if you put good speakers in there, you're just making it worse. And then you're spending good money. You're just like throwing money out the window now because you're making good audio out of the speaker, but you're making the system worse in effect by doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, it just
if you're not going to get it soup to nuts, you can't piecemeal it.
Yeah. You got to like start at the Bose amp and go from there all the way up to the speakers and just say screw it. And I don't know, maybe at some point, but not today.
Not today.
Not today. So whatever. Anyway, that's first world problems, I guess.
Right.
Absolutely. I feel like that's like what's his name? That's a problem. Like the dude who wrecked his car, what's his name?
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, yeah. This is like the audio problem for someone like Kevin Hart, right? That he would just throw a bunch of money at it and be like, whatever.
How many watts?
Yeah.
I need all the watts.
Yeah, right?
Just give me more watts.
Right. So, I mean, I like the stereo and the Q system and the fact that it has CarPlay and Android Auto and all that kind of stuff is great.
Right.
But, man, they don't leave you a lot of options.
No.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Off my soapbox.
That was a lot of car radio.
That was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I mean, it is, So, anything else happen this weekend? Did you do anything? Because you know what I did.
Did I? What?
I don't know. We didn't talk about it.
I was going to say, what? Did we?
No, but did you?
Well, we did our show, an extra show.
Yeah.
Where we talked about.
That'll get posted on Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
What we didn't cover, I wanted to cover, because we've made it a year.
Yeah. Happy birthday to Sad Dad's Club Podcast.
I have positive outlooks on continuing.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a chance to say thank you.
No, thank you.
Right, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
And the reason I wanted to say that, and we didn't get it covered last week, was, and I wanted to get it done here, was because we just had someone take their suicide over here at Caseburg Park.
Oh.
And then we had a young man who had gone to Wood Creek, also had lost his life, committed suicide. We're not quite sure of the full details over here at the high school that Piper goes to. And my rope in there is like a mental health thing. Mm-hmm. So when I started playing Ingress, it was a way for me to get around some of my own social anxiety conflicts and problems, like had struggles. Yeah. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. And it filled and helped me get past a lot of those things. And when I talk about like mental health with like the kids and whatnot, it's like to introvert and to be scared of certain things that create blocks to you as far as, you know, who you are and where you want to go and what you want to be. Gaming and Ingress helped me get past some of my own fears and struggles. Mm-hmm. And as a byproduct, that helps keep me mentally healthy, like to have an outlet, to have a place to go to not feel like I have to contain and bottle and feel ashamed or be embarrassed about the kind of person that I am.
Right. Which you should totally be.
Right. So when I see some of these young kids who maybe don't have a place or don't have someone to talk to and think that the only way out or the only solution for them is to take their own life or take someone else's, heaven forbid, or adults, it's like I'm glad I have multiple places, even though I'm not playing Ingress. This is one of them. This is one place where I'm still chatting with a buddy. We talk about shit of the day. Mm-hmm. We get stupid. We stay stupid. But we get serious. And it helps make sure that I have a place to talk about these things. My car is another one of those places. I think if you're anyone that's listened to multiple shows, particularly this one where we cover cars or automotive stuff or things just generally surrounding a car, we're passionate about cars.
Yeah.
If there is a time when I can't find a way to talk to my wife or the kids or you or a friend about a terrible work day, I can go to my car and it's my temple, I've said it before, and I can spend some time in my car and I can clear my head and I can get mentally better.
Grounded.
Right. Yeah. It helps me find a place to feel better about whatever is going on.
Sure.
The show is another one of those places that we didn't have while playing Ingress. Ingress filled that gap. Mm-hmm. This is the next transition for me in like having that mental health place along with all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I kind of, we're similar in that sense, and I think that I held on to it a lot longer than you did. Like the social anxiety part of me, definitely, like I wouldn't hang out when cross-faction events. There were two teams in Ingress,
right?
And we were on the blue team, and there was a green team. And anytime there was a cross-faction event where there was anybody green, forget it. You couldn't count on me to be there,
right?
Or if there was an event, even on our own team, where there was way too many people, I would typically bow out. I don't know. There's definitely some of those things where I have kind of put myself out there more than I would have normally.
Right.
And this is definitely one of those things. And also the great group of people that we have that we're friends with that came out of Ingress, that I want to say thank you to all of them.
Right. Yeah.
And just for being genuinely good people, people that you can trust and talk to. And, and especially you, I mean, we have talks offline, off the show,
right,
about all kinds of stuff. Probably stuff we would never talk about on the show.
Probably.
And and not just serious crap, dirty humor, of course, and all that kind of stuff, and stuff that keeps us, happy.
I feel
lively.
very lucky when I see some of these news things. It's like, to be able to have outlets, but also to know that, in surrounded by great people. It's like if. It doesn't have to be a show. Obviously, we're publishing and putting this out there for people in the public to digest.
Yeah.
But, if I'm struggling, I'm surrounded, and I know that I've got good people that will lend me a hand. Mm-hmm. So when I see some of these, particularly with Piper, they had a rough day.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, to know that there are some people that are having a hard time finding someone to talk to or an outlet of some fashion. That's why it's interesting to have all these little hobbies. I don't have time. Sad dad. I don't have time for all of the hobbies that I want to do.
Yeah.
But even if I couldn't find someone, some of my hobbies afford me an opportunity to find that center to like, okay, I can run. And that used to be, and that's a joke that Venus used to have in high school. It's like, coming from where I didn't have my own car and we're out in the boonies. It's like, well, I don't have a lot of gas money. So the running thing was, pun intended, was if I was struggling in high school, I would run. I would put on my shoes and I would go for a run. And that's made it to the kids at this point. It's like, well, yeah, if your dad ever, if we're having a disagreement, so your dad's had a bad day and his shoes are missing and the garage opens and it closes, he's going for a run.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. But, that the running affords me also an opportunity to, clear your
mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool journey, and I'm glad we decided to go through with it and all that stuff. And
I was like,
is
she out with
laundry?
the mask? Yeah, probably.
But I'm glad we decided to do it because this was hey, what are we going to, if we're not going to play Ingress anymore, what are we going to do? And I think it was you that popped up and said, we should do a Sad Dads podcast.
Yeah.
And it was like, instantly like, fuck yeah.
It's the next medium. And like what we don't see also, outside of this audio and video medium, is it's also put, I think, at least me, back in touch with a lot of the software that I really enjoyed tinkering with before I had kids.
Yeah, video editing.
The video editing, the
After Effects,
the graphics generation, the UI stuff. It's like, I miss that. So there's a lot of stuff that has...
You have come all in. I'm kind of impressed. It's, I mean, honestly, we could have done this show without you. Just from, I mean, you have supported us, from the get-go, and I can't thank you enough for that stuff.
Well, I thank you.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a spreadsheet of all the money we spent, and yours is pretty incredible. Your side of that spreadsheet is, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's pretty insane, but you've gone above and beyond, in my opinion, for anything that I would have ever thought for this show, and I can't thank you enough.
Yeah. Well, it's good stuff to have, and it's fun. And we're not making money.
No.
And we certainly didn't make money in Ingress.
No.
Right?
We were spending it on gas.
Oh, yeah. Fuck. Yeah,
lots of
gas. But so, yeah. It's important to, and if you happen to be a listener,
if you don't know us and you're a listener, just understand how genuine we are right now, because this is really important to us.
And you would find, because this carries over some of the detachment from the audience, whereas Ingress, I would get a number of people. I was a confidant to a number of people.
Oh, yeah.
And that was important to me, less as a player, but more as that, as hard as it was for me to put myself out there in groups of public, people enjoyed my company and certainly trusted me and considered me close enough that I was their mental health helper kind of thing.
You were that for somebody else for sure,
right?
Lots of people.
So if there are a lot of struggles out there where people don't have those outlets.
Yeah.
And if you're someone that has considered or hasn't checked in on someone that you think maybe has that kind of thing, please do so, because I guarantee you the person that's struggling will thank you for it.
And they think they don't have anybody.
Right, and they don't think they have anybody. Just talk.
Yeah.
And if I can do it, and if you can do it,
that's true.
Then it's something that's tackleable for anybody.
Yeah.
Anyway,
good chat for sure.
Yeah, we're now we hit our time.
Oh my God. Well, that must have been planned or something.
No, well, I thought it would go shorter, but it is what it is.
All right. Well, we're glad we got that off our chest. We'll have a bonus show. If you're still listening, we're going to tell you right now. We got a bonus show coming that'll be on Friday. It's kind of a birthday show that we had to record a week early, but our birthday is basically next week.
Right.
So the show will be posted on Friday.
Right. We had cake. We had booze. We had really hot
wings.
Hot wings.
Yeah.
And Mike.
And a little bit of a party atmosphere.
And the asshole production crew also were here. Yeah. So it's a funny show.
Yeah.
It's off the rails.
Yeah.
Don't bring your kids.
Certainly not.
There's a lot of
innuendo
and a lot of cussing and a lot of boozing.
Yeah.
But it's a good show. We hope you like it.
Yeah.
And with that,
we'll say goodnight and we'll see you next week. And thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next week.